Hey, good day, everybody. This is E. Marcel Pertut, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Inquirer Show. We're broadcasting on December 24th, 2020, which means it's Christmas Eve. For all of you out there that celebrate that, happy holidays. And yeah, we're at a time right now where a lot of us are starting our vacations, whether it's for today and tomorrow, into Christmas, into the weekend, or maybe you're out there working, or whatever you're doing out there. Hope you're being safe and doing well out there in the world. Wanted to get a quick show in before the Christmas festivities take place in the world of sports, and I just wanted to chat with y'all before, as I said, everything starts going on. As always, if you want to follow everything that we're doing, head to the mothership, which is the sportsinquirer.net. You go to the site, you can check out all the items we have going on there. You go to our Twitter and Instagram pages under Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. Just do a quick search on those platforms and you'll see everything that we're doing. You go to our Facebook pages, which is either the Sports Inquirer or Sports Inquirer. Just do a quick search on there. And then finally, subscribe on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. The Sports Inquirer. Similar deal. You do a search and you'll see everything that we have going on. Things are going well here in Metro Atlanta. We might get some snow tomorrow. We're checking the radar on that. Had a rainstorm come through earlier today. Christmas is an interesting time because when you're younger, you like that white Christmas and to be out there and with the snowmen and playing outside and everything like that. But now I'm older, I really don't care too much for it, as long as we don't have any ice. That's the biggest thing that we deal with here in Atlanta when it comes to the weather season. But yeah, it's interesting because it's a slower time yet a faster time when it comes to the sports. It's a slower time because you have some of the college teams they played a lot of their games, but they kind of take the next few days off. So there's not much going on in that regard. But you also have bowl games, like we're going to discuss Georgia State football in a few minutes, and they have a bowl game the day after Christmas. So they're very active in preparations and everything like that. The NBA season just got started. We have the NFL. They're heading towards the end of their regular season. So it's kind of an anomaly where you have some sports are kind of taking a 2 3 day break. And then you have some sports which are right in the middle of the crucial part of their campaign. And we'll break down all that stuff as we go throughout the show. But speaking of Georgia State football, we'll start with them. As I said, they earned a bowl bid for the fourth time in 6 years, and they're going to play in the Lending Tree Bowl, which is on Saturday, December 26th, and they're going to face Conference USA for Western Kentucky. We were able to speak with Coach Elliott about the team accepting the bowl bid.
Yes. Well, first of all, very, very ecstatic about having the opportunity to go play in the Lending Tree Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. Um, here we are practicing the week of Christmas. A lot of people around this country have chosen for whatever reason to not play in these bowl games. Some of them, and some of them not even deserving to play in the bowl games. But we're sitting here, we're deserving of being in this bowl, and we're thrilled to death to be practicing. And if you look at our team and look at our excitement that we have out of practice and just in our meetings, that we're serious about going down there, playing a good Western Kentucky team, and hopefully playing very well and pulling out a win.
Now, Georgia State has won three of their last four games of the regular season. So right now, their record stands at 5-4, 4-4 in the Sun Belt Conference, and this is the second time in 3 years, or second straight year in 3 times in 4 years that Coach Shawn Elliott has led the team to the postseason. So here are his bowl week thoughts.
Yeah, because around our office we play a lot of music, so we got Christmas music playing. We got Christmas Vacation on the TVs around here. We're making it. It's not a grind session around here. We understand it's the week of Christmas. We understand we're not at the bowl site. We're not doing the things we typically do, but we're enjoying it, and we understand that we are playing in a bowl game, a very significant bowl game for our football program. And we just try to make it fun, and that's what we're doing right now. Are you kidding me? Look around the country. I mean, we're a deserving football team. We finished, I think, top 4 in the league. Our affiliation with our bowl ties, we have 5 bowl ties, so we're certainly a rewarding team to go and play in this Lending Tree Bowl. I think that's special. I mean, it truly is. I mean, we're 11 years old. We played in bowl games 4 out of the last 6 years. It's going to be our back-to-back, first time ever for back-to-back bowls. And like I said, hopefully we can play and play well enough to pull out the victory against Western Kentucky. But I understand they're doing the exact same thing. But it's a significant achievement for our program.
Yeah, and as he mentioned, it's interesting time because when you have bowl week, that typically means that you head down to the city that you're playing in, and you have all the festivities, whether it's a banquet, you do some community service at a local hospital or a community center. You have they usually have a fun activity. You go to go karts or go to a play some games and things like that. But obviously, with everything that we have going on in the world, it's really turned into a road game. They're gonna drive down there or fly because you could fly from Atlanta to Mobile. Probably rather that. Mobile's a long drive. That's about 6 7 hours. So they could probably fly down there, play the game, and be back that same day. So it really is like a bowl game. But still, it's an appearance on national television, and it continues to build the program. And they're looking for their second bowl victory in in history. They actually defeated Western Kentucky earlier in their tenure or their time at Georgia State in 2017 in the Auto Nation Cure Bowl, which was Coach Elliott's first year. That was down in Orlando, Florida, and the Panthers earned a 27-17 victory in that contest. I was able to speak with Hardwick Willis on Bowl Week, a senior defensive player for the Panthers. Here were his thoughts. Actually, Mike, I do. We've asked
Go
other
ahead.
guys and coach, does it feel like a bowl week? Are you guys kind of getting in that spirit of preparing for a contest, or is it just kind of unique with all the circumstances that we're dealing with?
It's a little of both. I'll be honest. It's a little of both. Pandemic this year has definitely been taking a toll on guys. Being able to have to miss a couple games or so. But this practice, even today's practice, was a lot. It was a lot more intense today. We kind of going after each other a little bit, and everybody's amped up on defense and offense. And I feel like we're gonna go down there and put on a good show. So I got faith in my guys.
And here's Willis discussing the importance of pressuring the quarterback.
Roger, Coach was talking a minute ago about how the pressure you guys have been able to put on the quarterbacks kind of changed the way you guys have been able to approach defenses this year. How do you think that has made you a better football team?
Well, it makes us a better football team because applying pressure to the quarterback allows for our defense to gain more momentum. And if we're able to get those guys 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and pass rushing and getting these sacks and getting tackled for losses and forced fumbles, then hey, it puts our defense and our offense actually in a great position to win football games.
Was that a gradual improvement, or did everything just kind of seem to click at the same time? What
I would say it was kind of a gradual improvement, at least for myself, because coming in freshman year, I didn't really have too many sacks. I don't think I got any sacks my freshman year. But then as the years went by, I started to learn more and more about the game, more and more about my technique, being more comfortable with my position. And I was able to make plays this year.
Senior offensive guard Shamarius Gilmore, and we'll get to his accolades in a moment about him being named to All Sun Belt. But he also had his thoughts on Bowl Week, and we'll wrap up that portion of our commentary before we move on. So here is Gilmore.
The situation is kind of weird, but when they said we had a bowl game, it was like, I don't know how everybody else felt, but in my mind, it's like, okay, it's another opportunity to go play. So in my mind, it just clicked. Okay, it's game week. I know Christmas is right around the corner, but it was like, okay, we just gonna have to hold off on it, but it's still gonna do what we have to do. And it was just my mind. Like today, we was out there. Practice kind of got intense, and like it feels like we're ready to play. We're ready to go down there and win.
Now, Georgia State did place 14 individuals on the All Sun Belt Conference team, and led by Gilmore, who earned first team honors for 4 years, and his first player in Panther history to be an all conference selection 4 times in his career. Here is Coach Elliott on Gilmore.
Quan Gilmore is tremendous, just person in general. If you watch him every single day, and he brings a sense of enjoyment to practice and work. And, in this day and age, a lot of people don't bring that every single day, but he does. And to be a 4-time all-conference recipient says a lot. I mean, it's truly amazing, to tell you the truth. And, to see his work. I mean, you know, when you put in hard work, you want to be rewarded for it. And when you can watch him off the field in the classroom and in the weight room, it's special to see. So there's no reason that one of our best people on our team is one of our best players.
And we're also able to speak with Gilmore on being selected 4 times in his career to the all-conference team.
It's huge for me, just, you know, getting accolades, but I like to not only accept them for me, but accept them for everybody that helped me get here. Like my family, my dad has all my plaques like that. But other than my family, the coaches I've played for, Coach Elliott, the former coaches, even coaches from high school, just to put me in this situation and just be able to thank them for everything they've done for me, and like me gradually getting better, and from like, you know, getting better and being that player.
Another player that made the all-conference team was freshman quarterback Quad Brown. Coach Elliott was very high and complimentary of him, and these were his thoughts on his freshman QB.
Well, you know, Quad, you know, coming this season, of course, was an unknown. Didn't have much off of spring practice, just a few days, and but I think he's really done a very nice job, to tell you the truth. He was snubbed a little bit, what I think, in our all-conference voting. I thought he was probably probably the third best quarterback in our league, and he's really done a good job running our offense, both in the passing and the run game. He's a very, very talented athlete, and he's got a tremendous upside. What a personality this young man has. Always fun to be around. Always wanting to learn. So he's meant a lot to us, and he's going to mean a lot more to us as his season or his career progresses.
All right, so the Panthers head into that bowl game in the Lending Tree Bowl against Western Kentucky. We'll have post-game commentary on that right after the contest, so make sure you keep following our site and checking all of that out. Georgia State basketball enters the Christmas break on a winning streak. They were able to defeat College of Charleston 72-55 on Monday night at home at GSU Sports Arena. Senior Corey Allen and Justin Roberts each had 20 points in the victory, and the Panthers shot nearly 60% from the floor to take control of the contest, especially in the second half. We were able to speak with Coach Lanier about the team really taking control of that contest in the second half.
Yeah, we showed some toughness there. I think we got a little spoiled there, that things were kind of going our way. We had a lead there of double digits for a while, and then they made a couple of threes. They made some stops. They made some plays the way a good team and a good program will do. So there was nothing unexpected there, but we kind of fought our way back a little bit and and our energy came back. We got some stops. We made some plays. We made a couple of shots, and it was a good sign of growth for us during that stretch.
And another big thing for Coach Lanier is the improvement defensive effort for the squad. So here were his thoughts on that.
Yeah, we've got to improve defensively, though. We've got a long way to go there, and we knew that. We knew that, when we brought these guys back in July, it was like, let's not do any defense. Let's make it fun for these guys. They've been, instead of grinding them right away when they came back, we kind of did things in reverse for me. Generally, we bring these guys back in June and we'll start grinding. And then at the end of summer school, we'd send them home, and then we get back and we'd work on our offense, but we try to set a tone, especially with incorporating 6 new guys, like we were trying to do this year. So we're playing catch up defensively a little bit, and we really got to get caught up. The league is so good, and you're going to be playing teams in back-to-back days here now, and so it's going to be an interesting dynamic. So we're going to have to be a little bit tougher than we've been, and I think the guys know that. So we got some catching up to do, but we know that. We kind of approached it the way we did by design. We don't know if that's the right way or not, but, we were so worried about where they were mentally and everything that was going on that we just wanted the 2 hours that we spent in the gym with them to be the best part of their day. And so here we are, and we definitely got to get better defensively.
And then finally, as I say, shot nearly 60% from the floor. So that led to, they did that through outside shooting. So here are his thoughts on the outside shooting of the Panthers.
Well, as far as the shooting goes, we have good shooters. And I think as long as we're taking good shots and taking the shots that we practice, we'll have some nights like that, or even better sometimes. And we'll have some nights where they don't go. And I don't mind going into this press conference with you guys saying we had good shots and they didn't go down. We had to find another way to win. But we do have some times where we settle and we don't take the optimal shot, and we give up on possessions too early. And we had some stretches like that as well. But I think the guys are really starting to get comfortable with how good we can be when we let the ball dictate who takes the shot, instead of guys premeditating who's going to do it. And we're starting to get there. There's an understanding, I think, that's developing in our team, what that can do for us.
So now Georgia State is 6-1 on the season, so they've continued their best start in 20 years and are now number 4 in the collegeinsider.com mid-major top 25 poll. So they only 2 times the Panthers have started the season better than 6-1 were a pair of 7-0 starts in 2000 and in 1975. So this is a really strong start for the Panthers. Here is Coach Lanier on the non-conference schedule.
Well, the number one thing we wanted to accomplish was to actually play the games. And so we did that. And then we wanted to see some growth. I said early on that we got a good group, but we're not a team yet. And playing the games give you the opportunity to develop your team. And so I think from that standpoint, I do think we've made some strides. Without the games, we wouldn't, have that developmental process. We'd still be trying to get these guys to see what it is we're talking about. But we've been able to illustrate through the experiences that we've had what it is we're capable of becoming and the things that go into winning. And again, you're incorporating guys who are playing basketball for the first time in over a year. So, so I think there's a lot of growth that we've made thus far. And I think obviously playing the games has had a lot to do with that.
All right, the Panthers return to action next week near the new year against Coastal Carolina to begin Sun Belt play. As always, head to the site and we'll be keeping track of all of that. Let's move on to the backdoor cut and our NBA thoughts. I could do my predictions, and we do need to do a backdoor cut specifically on the NBA. We have a podcast that we discuss everything in the NBA and in college and in basketball in general, whether it's WNBA as well. But just initial NBA thoughts through the first 2 days of the season. We'll start with the Atlanta Hawks. That's our main coverage team, able to get a nice win over Chicago, 124-104 in the contest. If you're listening and you follow NBA, Trae Young, big night, 37 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, only 4 turnovers, which is a very low mark for him. And the rest of the squad, a lot of 4 or 5, 6 other guys scoring double figures, from John Collins to Cam Reddish, Gallinari, Hunter. But Bogdanovic had 15 points off the bench, as well as Kevin Huerter. He had 11 points off the bench. So you look at all those numbers, and it really could have been more. They had a really strong first half, scoring 70-plus points, were able to do everything that they needed to do. I was most impressed with the defensive effort. They scored 83 points in the first half against Chicago. And Chicago has a lot of issues. They're not going to be a playoff team. They're going to have a very rough year, looks like. But defensively, you saw effort. You saw Trae Young. I saw multiple times him getting deflections, covering the back end on defensive sets. You saw, and having Collins in that lineup is very big because he gives you that interior. I see he only had, it's surprising because he only had 4 rebounds. It felt like he had more than that. But he was a guy that is able to give you some presence in the paint. That's very important. And that's without Clint Capella playing. And I look at the roster. There's some people saying, the Hawks, are they going to be a playoff team? They darn well better be. You look at the team that they have developed. You have Trae Young, who's an all-star, who can play at an all-NBA level. John Collins, I think he's an all-star caliber player. He's on a contract year, so we know he's going to be highly motivated, and that's a good thing for the Hawks to have a highly motivated John Collins looking for a big contract. Gallinari, Bogdanovic, those guys are professionals. Those guys have been double-digit scorers throughout their entire careers. I like that you have Reddish and Hunter, some young guys that you brought in last season. So they're in their second year. You expect to continue their development. Kevin Huerter, him coming off the bench, I think is a good spot for him. He had a few open threes in the contest. I like him in the rotation. And as I said, that's not even including guys like Clint Capella, who you expect to be in that starting center spot. And he gives you a good defensive and rebounding presence. And then Rondo, who it can come off the bench and maybe even start alongside Trae Young. And we'll see how the rotation goes as far as that goes. But I think you look at that team; that's a top 8 team in the Eastern Conference. Now, are they as good as Brooklyn? Good as Philadelphia, Boston, Milwaukee? No, they're not as good as those teams. But can they be in that 6 to 8 range? I don't see why they can't be. I don't see there's any reason why you can't look at the Hawks as a team and say they can't be in that top. Toronto is a very good team as well. I think Toronto. I know they lost last night to New Orleans, but they'll be in the playoff picture as well. So, as I said, if you look at the Eastern Conference, these are teams I know are already going to be better than the Hawks. Brooklyn, Boston, Philly. I'm going to say Indiana. That's 4. Toronto's 5. Milwaukee is 6. Miami. You got to give Miami's a really good team too. So there's 7. But outside of that, why can't they be in that 8th spot? I don't see any other team in the East that you can say definitively is better than Atlanta. Now, I think that is interesting because you have those teams in their spots. And throughout the year, we're able to break down a lot of squads. Brooklyn looked good. Look, if Kyrie Irving, and it's a struggle for him to stay healthy and give you an entire season, if he can stay healthy and with Kevin Durant, they're going to be a very dangerous team. And the reason that they're dangerous is you look at those two guys who are accomplished all you can. Durant's done it all, scoring champion, MVP, NBA champion. And you looked at him play in that contest against Golden State, it was effortless. It looked like he wasn't injured at all. And I mean, it's an Achilles, and it's still he's a human being, so he's a human body. But if there's a one guy that you figure an elite player that can get back to an elite form after an Achilles injury, it's Durant. He just moves up and down the court so easily, hits all of his jumpers, and just hits all of every shot you could want in as a pro player. And he's an all timer. And then Kyrie, yes, we know he's got an interesting personality, but on the court, if he can keep his head on straight and control, there's not a better ball handler. He could score everywhere on the court. Those two guys together are such a good dynamic. And you look at the rest of the team. You look at Dinwiddie. You look at LeVert. You look at Jared Allen. You have guys that are on that roster who, and even DeAndre Jordan. I like Allen and Jordan as a good center combination. I think Allen may be the better player, but Jordan has the better resume and pedigree, and but you can rotate those guys in and out. I think their team overall is very, very good. I mean, so you got to think of them as contenders. I think Milwaukee. I watched the game last night. I saw the Jason Tatum bank 3-pointer to lead Boston to the win, and then Giannis, the team down 2 with less than a second left. He's at the free throw line. He makes the first one, misses the second. That's not a good sign because his free throw shooting. If you can nitpick on Giannis, and I mean, he's 2-time MVP. There's not a lot to nitpick, but his shooting, and that includes free throws, have been an issue. And him missing that free throw at the very end of the contest was not a good look. But I think Milwaukee's going to be right there in a contending spot. Philadelphia, it's interesting because you have 2 top maybe 20 players in the NBA and Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. And you look at what they've added to that roster: Seth Curry, elite shooter; Doc Rivers, just a head coach. I thought the Brown era in Philadelphia, and he did a good job rebuilding that team. But take to the next level, I think Doc Rivers is an upgrade. Now you're saying, well, he was supposed to be an upgrade in Los Angeles with the Clippers. You saw what happened last year. I think certain guys, certain spots, after a few years, you need a change of scenery. So I think him bringing some professionalism and stability to that head coaching position in Philadelphia is a good thing. So you look at Philly, they're going to be right there in the East. Right now, it's very hard to, and I mentioned Indiana, Miami, those are teams. Toronto. They're going to be playoff teams. It really depends kind of how things break for them. But if you look at it on paper, it's going to be very tough for someone to beat Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference. Now, I think Philadelphia has a shot because I said they have those two elite players on the roster and a championship head coach. So they're intriguing as well. But I think you look at Brooklyn as a team that could do really well in the East. And then the West, it's kind of the same deal. The Lakers, I mentioned all that about the East. The Lakers have two top five players in the league, and they got better in the offseason. You add that together, that's going to be very, very tough to beat. With LeBron and Anthony Davis doing their thing, and you mentioned it in the rest of their roster. I think Kuzma is going to really take off as a bench player this year. You add a Montez Harrell. I think he gives them some good energy off the bench. Gasol at center. He's not there to be the Gasol that we saw in Memphis and to a lesser degree in Toronto. But I think you add him to the group. That's a good sign. Their problem, and it was their problem last year, their lack of outside shooting, and it hurt. It could hurt them at times last year. Hurt them again this year. But I don't think there's a team in the West that's really going to mess with them in that regard. I mean, the Clippers are probably going to be right there as well. Very good first win of the regular season for them. Paul George had a very big second half in winning that contest. I mean, you have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, two top 10 players probably in the NBA. You're going to win a lot of contests. They just had, I think their problem is, and they have still, I know they lost Montez Harrell and everything like that, but you still have Lou Williams. He's maybe the best bench player in the NBA. They have depth at the post position. They brought in Serge Ibaka, so they have a team on paper that you would think could be a major contender. I don't like the point guard spot for them. I think that Patrick Beverly, look, he's a good story. He has a lot of heart. He's a professional. He's a pro, but he is not even a top. And I know that talking about, he plays defense, and yes, he does play defense, and that's a good thing. But I wouldn't even put him in the top 15 of point guards in the NBA if you broke it down. And I think that really is going to hurt them in the long run. And look, there's some other teams out there. Denver, is going to put up a lot of wins. Dallas is going to be intriguing, especially when they get Porzingis back because of Luka. I mean, he's going to take a big step. In Portland, when you have that backcourt of McCollum and Dame Lillard, and the rest of their guys, you have Carmelo Anthony for a full season now with them, and then you have Nurkic. You have guys out there that can really play. But I think overall, it's going to come down to a battle of LA. And like Utah could be a playoff team. You just look at New Orleans, maybe a playoff team. I know Phoenix. They got Chris Paul, so that's an upgrade at point guard. Him and Booker can be a nice combo. But in the end, it comes down to star power. And I think the Lakers and the Clippers are going to battle it out again. And you got to say the Lakers are the better team still in the Western Conference. But very intrigued by what we're going to see throughout this season in the NBA. And then finally, we'll wrap up the show with the NFL and some contest of interest. I'll go down the line of kind of what I'm looking at. You have a really interesting contest with New Orleans and Minnesota on Friday on Christmas Day. I think this contest, if New Orleans I'm interested to see what Drew Brees, how he comes back physically. We saw him come back after multiple weeks off with the broken ribs and the collapse or the punctured lung, which doesn't sound fun at all. But I think you saw him in that contest last week or this past Sunday against Kansas City. As the game wore on, he got more comfortable. And look, he's not the Drew Brees of old. He's not going to throw for 400 yards and do all of that stuff. But I think he could pilot that offense still in a very good way. Michael Thomas being out, and that's not been mentioned throughout New Orleans, and with the Taysom Hill at quarterback or Jameis Winston. Drew Brees trying to work his way back. Not having Michael Thomas, who arguably is the best receiver in the NFL. At least he was the most productive receiver in the NFL, all-time catch record. Him not being on the team hurts in a big way. So if they want to have a shot, they'll probably still be a playoff team once they have 10 wins. But if they really want to put themselves in a better position in the playoffs, they got to beat Minnesota tomorrow on Christmas. That's a crucial contest for them. I'm continuing to go down the line of contest of interest. Miami and Las Vegas, they play on Saturday. It's probably a playoff eliminator, especially for the I want to call them the Oakland Raiders, but definitely for the Las Vegas Raiders side of things. That's a very crucial contest for them. Look at Baltimore and the Giants on Sunday. Baltimore sneakily, they could get to 11 wins and still not make the playoffs, which would be crazy to think about. You win double-digit games. But if you look at the playoff picture, right now in the AFC, especially their division, you have Pittsburgh and you have Cleveland ahead of them already in the playoffs. The way you're looking at the picture right now is that if you look at the division winners, and we'll go that way. Buffalo's already won the East, so they're in the playoffs. Kansas City's won the West. They're already rolling in there. You have in the South, Tennessee and Indianapolis, they're tied. They're going to be both at double-digit wins. So you assume one of those teams is going to be in the playoffs. And then you look at the North, Pittsburgh, and I know Pittsburgh's free falling right now, 3 straight losses. They're not looking so hot right now after starting the season 11-0. But technically, right now, if you look at the playoffs or look at the picture, you have Pittsburgh and Cleveland ahead of Baltimore. Now, if those two teams win out, that I already named the 4 division. So either Pittsburgh or Cleveland wins the division. That other team, second team, probably be a playoff team. So you break all of that down, and Baltimore's in a very tricky spot where they could be the 3rd team in the NFC or the AFC North, and not even be a playoff team with a double-digit wins. It can really work out that way. It is crucial or very imperative that they win their contest against the Giants, who, as we speak right now, are still in playoff contention. The NFC East has been a complete disaster of a division as a group. I know they had some standout wins, kind of the past few weeks. But man, you're looking at a division winner probably with 7 wins. And so the Giants, they want to have any shot. They got to win this contest. But Baltimore, if they want to be a playoff team, they definitely have to get a victory in that contest. It's funny, I'm pulling up the games. Chicago by Jacksonville. Look, Jacksonville, they got the gift of all gifts last week with the Jets winning that contest against Los Angeles. And the Trevor Lawrence debate and where he'll go, my thoughts are this, and it ties to the Jets. We'll start with them. I don't blame the players. I don't blame the coaches. They're out there to win a contest. They don't want to be 0-16 because if you look at it, probably 40% of that roster is not going to be there next year. And they're playing for their professional livelihoods. Now we know Adam Gase will be fired and they're going to start over at head coach. But they're going to start off with a lot of new bodies. So if you're a current player on the team, you're not going to be there to see the Trevor Lawrence experience. If they select them first overall when you're losing 16 games in a season and going winless. So you're going out there to win and to get a victory. Frank Gore, who's probably going to retire at the end of the year, he didn't want to go out on his career on a winless team. So you knew he would, and he played very well. Sam Darnold, who's playing for his NFL livelihood, whether it's with the Jets or with another franchise, you're not going to see him lie down and lose the game for the good of the franchise. When if they pick Trevor Lawrence, he's going to be the first one shipped out of town, please. So you had all of that up. That's where I don't blame the Jets players and coaches because they're playing and competing to win. So that's where it's tough that they're not the whole thing is they're going to tank and all this stuff. Now, the organization and ownership of the Jets probably would have not minded them necessarily going 0-16 if it means getting a transcendent product like Trevor Lawrence. But they won the game, and you have to roll with it. I don't think Jacksonville is going to win another game this season, and they have the tiebreaker with the strength of schedule. So Trevor Lawrence is probably heading to Jacksonville. I think the Jets at the number 2 pick have some options, though. If you really are set on taking a quarterback at number 2, if you really want to move on from the Sam Darnold era, they're going to have some options. Zach Wilson from BYU, very impressive performance in the Boca Raton Bowl against Central Florida. He's going to have I think he's going to be a top 10 product. You look at Lance, the quarterback out of North Dakota State. He's going to be intriguing. I don't know why Kyle Trask is not getting more love. The Florida quarterback, I think he's going to be a player of interest. And then Justin Fields, who admittedly has had an up and down season in Ohio State. You watch him against Rutgers and Penn State. You're like, man, this guy's a franchise player. He could be just as good as Trevor Lawrence as far as prospect go. But then you look at the contest against Indiana, where he had 3 interceptions, and you watch that Big Ten championship game this past week against Northwestern. You're like, man, this guy, he really could use another year of development at Ohio State. He's not going to go back to Ohio State. He's going to be pro. He's going to turn pro because he's still going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL. So you don't turn down that money. I don't care who you are. But I think that the Jets have a lot of options at number 2 if they want to stick at quarterback. You're going to have some other franchises that are going to be willing to move up. Detroit, Dallas. They're not saying not Dallas. Detroit, Atlanta. You have some teams they're not saying anything now because they have veterans established at those spots. But when the offseason comes, I think they could be willing to move up to because they're going to be in the top 5 or 6 as far as draft picks go in the first round. They can move up a little bit and get a pick. So the Jets, I mean, they can keep Sam Darnold, get some draft picks, use that salary cap money, and make it interesting. So I think the Jets have options. So it's not all doom and gloom completely. But yeah, I mean, you look at Trevor Lawrence, I think he is going to be that special generational quarterback right now. Now, we're not fortune tellers, so we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But yeah, them winning that contest was very interesting for some Jet fans we know who were very expressive and wanting to lose all their games to get that guaranteed number 1 spot. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see. Indianapolis and Pittsburgh, very good contest. Both teams need wins. They're both probably going to be playoff teams, but they need that win to keep their momentum going. So those are my thoughts on the NFL and the matches. And then Sunday nights or Sunday afternoons, a really good game. The Rams and the Seahawks, kind of similar deal we mentioned with Baltimore. The Rams are not in as precarious a spots, but they can be because I think you only have one playoff team from the NFC East, and so that helps in that regard as far as the availability of spots in the postseason. But the Rams, if they really want to get themselves in a very good spot for the postseason, they need to win that contest against Seattle. And I said the Rams coming off that Jets loss, which was very embarrassing, they're going to have to make their mark there. And then Tennessee and Green Bay on Sunday night, that's a fun contest of intrigue. Both teams need wins in a major way. Super Bowl preview, maybe? I don't necessarily go that far to say it's a preview of the Super Bowl, but I can definitely see Green Bay making a run to the Super Bowl. Tennessee, if they're the one team that I think in the AFC can give, well, Buffalo's right up there too, as far as giving Kansas City a run in the playoffs. With Tennessee, you have a potential 2,000-yard running back in Derrick Henry. Right now, he's not my MVP winner right now, but he's in my top 2 or 3. He's in my top 5 for sure, as far as my MVP ballot. And so you have him going. Ryan Tannehill is playing very well right now, very efficient player he has 31 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. He's had a very quietly an outstanding year, for the Titans. And they go up to Green Bay, a team that Green Bay right now has the inside track for the top overall seed in the NFC. And that's very important because remember, while there's an additional playoff team, there's also only one bye spot in each conference. And I think this year, more than any other year, I know we're saying there are no fans in the stands and home field advantage doesn't matter. I say hogwash to that because, especially when you're a team like Green Bay and you can play in those elements, and you're going to have a team like New Orleans. And I know New Orleans has a very good road record over the past few years, but still, if you get a Green Bay or a Tampa, or you get a New Orleans or a Tampa having to head up there for a conference championship game, or even a Seattle or the Rams, that's a good advantage for you for Green Bay. Plus, if you're home, you don't have to travel. You can handle your COVID protocols a lot better. it's just more comfort being at home. So I think that's a very big motivator for Green Bay to try to secure victory in that contest. And that's our show for today. Thanks for listening. As always, head to the mothership to sportsinquirer.net, and you get all the stuff that you need from there in our social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes. Just do a search for us on the Sports Inquirer, and you'll get everything that you need. Until next time, good fight, good night, be safe.